Hello there, and welcome back to the Net Report. Chris here, and I'm joined with my co-host Jacob, and we have some breaking NBA news. The Bucks went and fired their head coach Adrian Griffin, dismissed him earlier this morning, and we're here to talk about that and give our thoughts on it. I'm going to let Jacob start first because I know he has some very strong thoughts regarding this issue. So Jacob, take us away.
Well, this has been quite the NBA day. Without going into
Mm-hmm.
our other wild stories that happened today, some truly unprecedented stuff happened today. Milwaukee Bucks, who are second in the East, have a current record of 30-13. I'm going to pull it up, and I want to say they are only trailing my Boston Celtics by 3.5 games out of first. Dismissed their head coach, Adrian Griffin, first-year head coach. He's obviously only coached them for 43 games. Kind of unceremoniously fired him out of kind of nowhere. There had been no previous reporting about this, but they have let him go a la the David Blatt route. Crazy. Just truly insane and crazy. There's been a lot of follow-up reporting and fallout since this has come out, saying that both Dame and Giannis were just very unhappy with his play calls and just how he overall ran the team. But this is a big deal. Very few times have we ever seen a team fire their head coach mid-season and go on to actually win a title. I'll let you transition into it, but I'm just baffled. Truly, I'm baffled by this.
Yeah, and it's true what you say. The only thing in recent memory that I can think of, we could go like super far back. I don't have the stats or information for that, but the only time I can think of where a team fired their head coach and won an NBA championship were the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers when they fired David Blatt, hired Tyronn Lue, and they went on to win the championship. But this is unprecedented for like more reasons too. Like they were number 2 in the East. Like this is not a team that was struggling mightily. Like we're not talking about the Lakers or Warriors who are struggling to get into the play-in game. This is the Bucks who are 30-13, second in the East. They've had their problems defensively. Like we know that they've ever since trading for Damian Lillard, getting rid of Drew Holiday, they've had their backcourt issues when it comes to defense, and they're just not as good as they were last year. But to dismiss your coach in the middle of the season, there has to have been a lot brewing in. There's been some reports, obviously, kind of like you mentioned a little bit, that have come out with Giannis and Dame. They were unhappy, and it's kind of been mentioned a lot, especially defensively as well. Throughout the season, you've seen a little bit of that turmoil, but it is baffling, and I guess it really comes down to the players obviously must have co-signed on this, Giannis especially, but if the only reason you fire Adrian Griffin in this moment is if you truly believe he's not the one to take you to a championship, and whoever you're replacing him with will get you there. There's reports now of Doc Rivers maybe in the process of being hired, but there's nothing confirmed yet. They're looking towards him. There's apparently mutual interest, but nothing concrete yet. I just don't know if this Bucks team is going to find someone, especially to implement a game plan in the middle of the season. That's very difficult to do at the NBA level, especially with only 40 games remaining now or whatever, 39 games remaining. That's going to be close to impossible. So I'm just at a little bit of a loss for words. I definitely don't feel like he deserved to get fired. There was still time to right this ship, especially on the defensive side, but it truly is baffling.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Adrian Griffin get another head coaching position because this is kind of strange. I agree that there may have been some turmoil and issues with the players and himself, but before the season, Giannis clearly co-signed on him being hired.
Mm-hmm. That's a big thing, too.
I'm almost positive, I will take ownership if this is wrong, but Doc Rivers was also available before they hired Adrian Griffin.
I believe he was.
We've already been through this process. Let's have already had that idea. So what's changed between now and then? Like, I have seen reports that Doc Rivers had come in while Adrian Griffin was here to kind of help him acclimate, and so he helped him give some pointers and stuff. But that's a very pretty standard practice for coaches who aren't at the moment secure with a job. But I just, as much of a veteran as Doc Rivers is, we've kind of seen him in the playoffs. Like, I know what Doc Rivers is in the playoffs. How can you say you don't have any faith in Adrian Griffin to lead you to championship? You've never seen him coach in the playoffs. What
Hmm.
I don't think most people are going to acknowledge is there's a difference between coaching a regular season team and coaching a playoff team. That's what makes Eric Spoelstra one of the best coaches to ever do it. The Miami Heat have done this for about a decade now, where they just kind of lollygag and punt on the regular season, and then when it comes playoff time, they scheme, they defend, they do the craziest stuff that they haven't done all season long because of Eric Spoelstra.
Hmm.
Like, they're two different sides. Like, it's the same thing when we're talking about NFL coaches. Coaching a regular season game is not the same as coaching a playoff game. The stakes are different. Matchups are different. It's a chess game. It's not just a one-off. It's a physical 7-game series chess game. And to say it just feels very disrespectful to
Hmm.
Adrian Griffin to say after he's a rookie head coach, Giannis co-signed him, all this sort of stuff. And I know there's some talk about how he handled the Terry Stotts situation before the season, and sure, that did not look great. But I don't love the idea of you saying, "Hey, we don't have confidence in you to take us through to the playoffs," when there's no track record. Like, a lot of things that happen in the regular season don't translate to the playoffs. The one thing I will say as to why the only reason I'll co-sign on this for is their defense has been horrendous and putrid. But of course it is. Look at the players they're working with. No more Grayson Allen. No more Drew Holiday. Who at the guard position do they have to defend people?
Hmm.
Pat Connaughton's fine, but and
You're
sure,
relying
he's got
on
Jake.
Lillard and Malik Beasley, which is not ideal. So
No.
I think part of it's coaching, part of it's personnel. I think he deserved a chance to right the ship for at least the full year, because at worst case scenario, you lose out this year, you fire him and figure it out in the offseason for a coach. Like, the chances of correcting this in just 1 year seem very slim. Even if you bring in Doc Rivers, is that really enough to turn the season completely around to the point where you win a championship? Especially with the personnel, I just don't believe so.
That's the thing, especially with the personnel. It's not like you have LeBron out there right now who may as well be a head coach. Half the time he's coaching his own team. Like, yes, I understand Giannis has that standard where he can also kind of just dictate and play call because he is that good. But like, who's helping them on defense? They can put up 122 points a game, but they're also giving up 120.
Mm.
They fought tooth and nail last night just to beat the Pistons.
Yeah.
And it's not like they can go out and trade for a bunch of guys. They have severe cap flexibility. Unless they're including Bobby Portis in a trade for somebody, nothing's going to happen for the most part. I'm just going to go with statistics on this and say that it's not going to work out. Statistics say that when you fire a head coach mid-season like this, just like you were saying, Doc Rivers now has to implement a whole new system. It may not be a lot different because he worked with Adrian Griffin before, but it's still going to be different. And now you've got less than half a season to do it. And you're still going to be kind of learning come playoff time. These aren't players he's worked with in the past. Like they have any familiarity with him or anything. So, again, assuming it is Doc Rivers.
Yeah, and I think that's just the big thing. I mean, it's going to be a matter of who they bring in. It's most likely going to be Doc Rivers, but it just feels really puzzling. It's weird. I'm almost positive more will come out over the week. Like, there's been falling out between Giannis and him. There's maybe relationships that weren't repairable because it really came out of nowhere. Like, they kept it under wraps pretty well because that was one of those Woj bombs you have that, like, you had to read 3-4 times and make sure it wasn't a fake account. Like, it caught the NBA world by surprise. No one expected that.
Shams Charania did have this first.
A Shams, yeah. Woj bomb, Shams bomb. I'm just stating more in terms of like, hey, we saw the news and we were like, whoa. But
yeah, no, we saw the Terry Rozier trade news. We saw the Tristan Thompson air quote news, and then this, and whoa, what a wild day it was in the NBA.
Oh, very wild.
And I guess while we're on it, real quick, we'll just briefly touch upon it. As a very small epilogue, the Miami Heat traded for Terry Rozier. They sent away Kyle Lowry and a very modestly lottery protected pick, and I want to say 2027 or 2029. fact check me on that, please.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
The Heat got a lot better. I love Terry Rozier for the Heat. This is coming from a Celtics fan. Terry Rozier is a dog. I think he adds a lot to that backcourt. He can play much better defense than I think he has on the Hornets in the past few years because that system just has never been good. And I mean, if you're comparing apples to apples, him and what Kyle Lowry was bringing to that Heat team, day and night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kyle Lowry, I have to believe is done after this season. Like, he looks like a shell of a player, and it's sad to see, but it's the natural progression of the player life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's the third or fourth big trade we've seen in the past few weeks. The Heat have started up. Pat Riley's not sleeping this time this season, so that's exciting for the Heat. But yeah, Terry Rozier back in the backcourt. All they have to send out is really a first-round pick and matching salary, and we'll see if they're done. I've seen a lot of rumors saying that they may still try to move out of Duncan Robinson's contract. That could mean DeJounte Murray. Who knows? But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, if you will, Celtics legend, for the Miami Heat?
So I definitely think it's gonna provide Miami with a much needed strength to the backcourt. They're gonna have some scoring out that backcourt now at Rozier, which you didn't really have a whole lot with Lowry. This has been an offense that kind of struggles at times, especially with shot creations and stuff. Terry Rozier can help you a lot with that. He can create his own shots a little bit, and he'll really
a lot of it.
And it's another guard who's really going to help this team. I like the trade a lot. I was thinking maybe bigger fish like DeJounte Murray, but I still don't think that's 100% out of play. But for what they gave up, it was 2027 first-round pick, lottery protected. It'll become unprotected in 2028 if it doesn't convey, but I like the move. I think it definitely makes them a lot better, and do I say it makes them like the odds-on favorite? No, but it's going to help this offense a lot, which struggles at times, especially in the regular season where, as we mentioned earlier, they kind of coast a little bit. So once they get that defensive intensity up in the playoffs, and they added Rozier, who's a real offensive punch. So I like the trade a lot for the Heat.
And what I think is going to be very underlooked and underrated, especially because it is a factor. Terry Rozier comes into this Miami Heat team with a good amount of playoff experience. He was on at least 2, definitely 3 or 4 possibly, Celtic playoff teams. So it's not like he's a stranger.
Mm.
His coming out party
was in that Boston playoff series. Yep.
This is a big deal, I think, for the Heat, and I think it's going to be a very under the radar move for this trade deadline. But I think it has a very consequential. I don't think the Heat are done. I think because they do have Duncan Robinson on the $18 million, I think they have a lot of flexibility. I don't think they're going to give up on guys like Jaime Jaquez, but I don't think they care about their first round picks because they've shown an ability to draft second rounders or develop undrafted free agents. So you package together a first or two and Duncan Robinson, maybe something else. I see a world where they can get DeJounte Murray. We'll see.
It depends on what other teams are offering too for DeJounte, or how quick the Hawks are looking to move on from him, but it's definitely still in the cards, I think.
For sure, but another wild day in the NBA life cycle. Every day seems to bring news, but today was a little spicy.
Oh, most definitely. But yeah, thank you for listening to us talk about the Adrian Griffin firing and the Terry Rozier trade. If you enjoy videos like this where we just talk about NBA stuff, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out a ton, and check out our other videos. It would mean a lot to us, and it helps the channel grow as a whole.
Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.